Hello, and welcome to another episode of Better Late Than Never, a series where I play old games that I never got around to playing and talk about what we can learn from them today. Now, I'm going to continue our dive into more modern games, but first, a quick shout out. You've all been giving me these really great suggestions for what to tackle next in this series, and it's really helped me figure out the roadmap for the rest of it. So, I'm going to do a long requested game today that fits into this thread. Batman Arkham City. Now, it's been requested a few times now, and it actually fits pretty nicely in with the next few games we're going to talk about. So, what did I learn from this 2009 classic? Here are my three biggest takeaways from Arkham City. Number one, action games age pretty gracefully, or at least the ones I've done for this series have. Back when I played 2008's Mirror's Edge, I remembered thinking that it felt so clean for a decades-old game. Meanwhile, Mass Effect felt dated in many areas with its clunky cover system or inventory management. Arkham City is more like the former than the latter. It's a smooth, clean game that never really dates itself at any point. So, what gives? I know I'm being a bit too broad here, but at least in the case of Batman and Mirror's Edge, those games don't really copy or rely on game mechanics from their time to succeed. Instead, they carve out fresh ideas and execute them pretty well. I think a lot of genres fall prey to this sort of trend loop. First-person shooters are especially guilty of this, as they often adopt mechanics from the most popular competitors to stay relevant. And yeah, we do see that in action games too. I mean, Batman's free-flowing combat has surely been revisited in the past decade, and Uncharted style is certainly a thing. But the genre feels a bit more open creatively, less restrained by the kind of competition that a Call of Duty killer needs to thrive. But I think there might be something else at play here too, which is that Number two, the late 2000s might be the Great Plateau. I keep going back and forth on this one, and I'd love to hear your opinions on this. But I'm always trying to figure out if games are starting to plateau. Technology is always improving, but we're not seeing drastic mechanic shifts like we used to from, say, the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64. Arkham City pretty much plays exactly like Arkham Knight, which came out a full generation later. Of course, the latter features some tweaks like a larger open world and a cleaner traversal system, but at its core, it pretty much feels like the same game. Now, it's not like the feeling of going from Super Mario World to Super Mario 64, so is this it? Have we leveled off? For the sake of arguing with myself, let me play devil's advocate. Maybe we're still just too close to see the difference. I mean, like I said in my Half-Life 2 video, there was a time where that was the most impressive looking game to me, and now, well, not anymore. Arkham City's luster might only start to dim when we see the next level of games, feeling downright ugly next to the games of tomorrow. Maybe. But it's been almost 10 years, and if I didn't know a thing about the Batman series, I probably would have guessed that City came out in the last 5 years. In fact, only one thing really makes it feel older, which takes us to my final plea. Number 3, bring back manageable open worlds. Arkham City was an open world game that came out before the 2010s, and that's clear for so many reasons. Today's open worlds give you gigantic spaces to explore, and maps littered with icons and objectives to hop around to. After playing games like The Division and Horizon Zero Dawn over the last few years, Arkham City feels like a breath of fresh air. The city is smaller and there's less to do, and you know what? That feels great. I didn't consistently feel distracted or overwhelmed every 2 steps. I kept on the critical path, and when I decided to stray from it, I was rewarded for it by uncovering little points of interest on my own. My map didn't fill up with every pack of enemies. I found them at my own pace, and it made for a much more rewarding open world experience. And I think that's what Zelda Breath of the Wild really gets right. It flips the trend. It gives you a blank map, which fills up with the things you've discovered rather than becoming emptier as you complete more objectives. At the end of that game, your map shows you all the things you've done and where you've been, whereas The Division shows you an empty page with nothing left to do. And that just doesn't feel as satisfying. I really loved how Arkham City handled this, and I wish more games felt that way. But we'll talk about why they don't very soon, and spoiler, it has to do with dragons. Anyways, that's it for this one. Do you have any thoughts about any of these points? Action games that don't hold up? Open worlds that feel particularly rewarding? Let me know in the comments, and get ready because next episode we're going to start tackling something that's been a long time coming: remasters.